Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner.
I honor time. It's a mark of integrity. When you show up late, you disrespect other people's time. See, that's about balance. You want to be balanced? You want to talk about balance? Let your moderation be known unto all men. It is a powerful character trait when you show up on time. Powerful character trait when you show up on time. That becomes habitual in a person's life when they habitually show up places late. And so we honor God through that, and it shows that I am tempered. I'm tempered because there's a temptation for all of us to be late. And so it's a moderation. Let your moderation be known unto all men. Did you know that all of our love relationships, they're just the same way? They have to be kept in balance, just like a bank statement. And when you do good things, it's like putting a deposit in, and you do bad things, it's like making a withdrawal. And what happens is that when you have too many withdrawals and not enough deposits, you end up bankrupting the relationship. See, it must be kept in balance. And so they need to say, excuse me, sir. Sometimes, ladies, you know what you ought to do? Just write it on a piece of paper and say, you are overdrawn. And put a smiley face on it. And then blow them a kiss and just say, you know what? You are overdrawn. Now, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So, men, if your wives are overdrawn, sometimes they can overdraw themselves with their mouth, and it's like, you know, you're really pushing it. You're about to go into the red. And you might need to tell them, listen, you're on the brink of being bankrupt in just a few moments. Write it on a piece of paper, be sweet to them, put a smiley face. Say you're almost overdrawn. I just wanted to give you a courtesy call. May I share something with you, dear lady? She had a man and woman. They had been married for 60 years, and they had shared everything. They talked about everything. They absolutely kept no secrets from each other, except that the old woman, she had a shoebox on the top of her closet, and she had cautioned her husband to never, ever open that box or even ask her about it. And all of these years, he had never thought about that box, but one day the old lady got sick, and the doctor said that she wouldn't recover. And so while he was trying to sort out their affairs, the little old man took down the shoebox and he took it to his wife's bedside, and she agreed that it was time that he should know what was in the box. And when he opened the box, he found 2 crocheted dolls and a stack of money totaling $95,000. He asked her about the contents. And she said this, that when we were to be married, she said, my grandmother told me the secret of a happy marriage was to never argue. And she told me that if I ever got angry with you, that I should just keep quiet and crochet a doll. So remember, there were 2 crocheted dolls in there. The little old man was so moved. He actually fought back tears because only 2 dolls were in the box. He says, she's only been angry with me 2 times in all of those years of living and loving. And he almost burst into tears of joy. He said, honey, that explains the dolls, but what about all of this money? Where did it come from? She said, oh, that's the money that I made from selling the dolls. Wouldn't it be something if you went and produced something that made money every time your mate made you angry? Some of you all would be filthy rich. But I love how God even created our wonderful world in which we live in balance. Balance is the key to life. It really is. God created our world in such a balanced fashion that we have, you know, a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere. And when it's summer in the northern hemisphere, it is winter in the southern hemisphere, and vice versa. And did you know that in the northern hemisphere that water rotates clockwise, but in the southern hemisphere it rotates counterclockwise? You go down, and I've been down in Australia, you flush the toilet, instead of it turning the water, turning the same way that it turns up here, it goes the opposite way. That's the difference between a hurricane and a typhoon. Both of them are these storms on the water. One turns to the right, the other one turns to the left. See, God has a balance. He has a balance to everything that he has done and everything that he's ever put into the earth. God has created a balance. Have you ever noticed even when we walk, there's a balance? When your left arm goes, it coordinates with your right leg. And if you're walking and the left leg coordinates with the right hand, so that when you're walking, they propel you in motion. There's a balance that is there. There's a balance. Now, I know some people have trouble chewing gum and walking. But God does. He gives us a wonderful balance. Balance is essentially the means for every action that we have. It is a balance that God has put into the earth, that for every action there is a corresponding reaction. In English, it is expressed in what's called an if-then clause. It's an if-then clause, that if you do this, then that will happen. That's cause and effect. That is a balance. That is a balance. That's a balance. Sometimes you might think that God has to punish us for sin, but you know what? God put the penalty of sin in sin itself. So God doesn't have to bring the retribution. It's built into it. It's like if he told you not to eat something, then you eat the stuff will make you sick. Give you high blood pressure, sugar diabetes. I mean, the penalty is built into the stuff. So it's a cause and effect. If you do this, then that. All of the commandments of God are like that. If you will do this, then I'll do that. Most of his promises are contingent with us. And so we are grateful to God that he gives us balance in all things. I mean, you see it in English. You see it in mathematics. You see it in the associative property of mathematics. You see it in the distributive property of mathematics. You see it in the commutative property of mathematics. Everything that God did it with a precision. He did it with a precision. He put the moon exactly 186,000 miles up in the sky, away from us. It controls the gravitational pull of the ocean. And so if it were just a degree off, if we were 1 degree farther away from the sun, we'd freeze to death. And if we were 1 degree closer, we'd start burning up. It's amazing, the incredible balance, that something that is 93 million miles away, the sun is 93 million miles away. And sometimes it blows my mind when I begin to think of the vastness of a God who created not only this galaxy in which we live, but the next closest galaxy to us is 2.3 light years away. Now, do you understand really what that means? The closest galaxy to us is 2.3 light years away. That means that it would take light 2.3 years to reach it. If you travel from this place to that one, it would take it 2.3 years. Light travels at a speed of 186,000 miles per second. And it would take it 2.3 years just to reach the next closest galaxy to us. That begins to tell you something about the expanse of the massive world in which we live, and everything is strategically ordered just in the right position. And if anything gets out of balance, we start having earthquakes, tornadoes, all kinds of things start happening in nature that we cannot explain, but they begin to happen. And I'm so glad that God is such a wonderful God, that he keeps our universe in balance. Wolf Rink said that without positives, there can be no negatives, and without negatives, there can be no positives. Nothing in the universe is, over the long run, just one way. And to expect otherwise sets you up for perpetual disappointment, stress, and failure. God put polarity in everything. Now, I didn't say that he meant for us to be bipolar. I said God put polarity in everything, that there's a positive and a negative. And listen, if you did not have the positive and the negative on a battery, you wouldn't have any energy. You'd have no charge. You'd have no place for the ions to move to. There would be nothing to cause their energy. And so sometimes God will let something negative in your life be the very thing that will spur you to become everything that you were meant to be. Somebody walking out of your life and leaving you will somehow give you the gumption to get up and to prove to yourself that I could do it without them. You've heard me tell you time and time again that if somebody can walk out of your life, they were not necessary for your completing the destiny for which God called you. And so there is a polarity, and this is why the Bible says, and we know, Romans 8:28, and we know that all things, it didn't say just the good things, it's the good and the bad, the positives and the negatives, the ups and the downs. When you spend a little time living in this earth, you begin to see that even though there are negative things that happen, and I go through adversity, that God is still with me and God is in control, that God will work in spite of this stuff that's happening to me right now. And so if you think that it's all supposed to be sweet, just try making something that doesn't have any contrast to it. I mean, you can't, if we make sweet tea, I like mine with a twist of lemon in it. You know, when you're from the country, you actually go out in the yard and get some mint and put it in there. You all don't know anything about mint tea. But there has to be a contrast. Lemonade, there has to be a contrast. You don't just put everything in a cake that's sweet. There's some stuff in there. Why don't you try tasting vanilla extract? Taste some lemon extract. See how you like it. Get a pound of butter and just lick on it for a while. But see, put these things together, there has to be a balance. Have you ever had anybody make something for you and you could tell that something in the formula was out of balance? Too much salt, too much butter, too much grease, too much flour. Have you ever had something to eat and it was out of balance? You may not know the formula for it, but you have sense enough to know that there was too much of something in here. You may not know how to do it, but you know when it ain't right. Life is about balancing who you are with what you do. It's a balancing act. It's balancing who you are with what you do. It is about balancing your home life with your work life. It's about balancing home with work, with worship, with recreation. Richard Leader and David Shapiro said, to put it simply, the formula for the good life is living in the place that you belong, with the people that you love, doing the right work on purpose. See, that's balance. That is balance. Balance for you personally means unifying your body, your mind, your spirit, and your emotion. Those four elements mainly. It is unifying your body, your mind, your spirit, and your emotions. And when you neglect any dimension of your being, something is going to go unfulfilled in you. You can't just have a spirit that's just connected to God and you have no social relationships. We are social beings. We have a need for social relationships, for love and acceptance and a place of belonging. We have a need socially for that. And so if you have these areas that are unministered to, they're not ministered to, you're going to find yourself unfulfilled in those particular dimensions of your life. I think that there's great insight in what William Burroughs said. He says, happiness is a byproduct of functioning. You are happy when you are functioning. If you've got something in you and you cannot function in your God-given gift, if you cannot function in your gift, then there's something that will go unfulfilled in you. Your happiness is connected with your functioning. But understand that balance does not mean equal time given to each area. It does not mean equal time given to each area. There are certain things that you can make sure that you do, but you don't necessarily give the same amount of time to it. You see, if there are 10 different things that you need to do, and there are only 24 hours in the day, and you got to work for 8 of those, and you got to sleep for 8 of those, then that common sense tells you you're not going to have equal time to do all of those things. So there are certain areas of your life that require more time than others. So don't think of balance in terms of equal time. Balance does not mean equal. It means that it is included. It is included. When you have a balanced diet, it doesn't mean that you eat the same amount of everything, because you need different amounts of different things in your body in order for that. And I don't have time in this session, but I'm going to teach you how to balance 7 particular areas of your life, 7 strategies for bringing an incredible balance between body, mind, spirit, and emotions into your life. Now here's another vital point that I want you to understand as it relates to time. Some stages, hear this very carefully, you need this, this is the wisdom of God. There are some stages of development in your life where your life will be out of balance in that area. I'm going to say that again. There are some stages of development that will cause your life to go out of balance for a while. For instance, if you have a newborn baby, your sleep is going to be interrupted for a good little while. And you're going to have a disproportionate time of nurturing a newborn baby that requires to be fed and changed and bathed and taken to doctor's appointments and all of these things. And that's disproportional. You have to put a lot of energy, time, and effort into nurturing that relationship with that young baby. And all of the mothers said, and so your life can go out of balance. Sometimes you can't even keep up with everything that you're supposed to do in your spiritual life and this part of your life, and you're, trying to get in the gym and work out. You're worn out. You got to go to bed because you know that child is going to wake up and they're not going to have any mercy on you. And so you have to keep things in balance. And there are some stages of development that will cause your life to go out of balance for a while. The same is true with birthing a business. It is true with birthing a ministry. It is true with birthing a new concept. It is just like an airplane. An airplane burns the majority of its fuel trying to become airborne. And once you get off the ground, expending all of that energy and propelling with thrust and lift in order to become airborne, once you get up there to 30,000 feet, you don't have to keep burning that same level of energy. You have to work hardest when you're trying to build a business, whatever it is that you're trying to build, whether you're building a ministry, you will work your tongue out in the early stages of that in a disproportionate time. Don't think that that's going to be the regiment for it for the rest of your life. That's out of balance. That is not healthy. You will burn out if you don't slow down at some points. You just have to burn a whole lot of fuel trying to become airborne. Once you get at a certain level, then you start coasting. You don't have to do all of that flapping. An eagle doesn't do a lot of flapping. He flaps a few times and finds a warm column of air and sets his wings, and he rises. He learns how to set his wings, and he just rises in a warm column of air, and that takes him to the altitude, and then he can go. They don't do a whole lot of flapping, but they rise. They rise. And so serious problems develop when one continues to expend the same amount of time and energy and money once you're airborne as you did during the arduous process of trying to become airborne. So you have to realize that as a part of balance, there are some stages in your life where, you know what, that we've just got to work our fingers to the bone right now, and it's only for a season. This is only for a season, and you got to see that the end of that season in sight, so that you don't weary yourself with this particular thing, that you are understanding that this is where I am. This is what I'm doing. And I want to make sure that my life has a balance in it. When you start a new job, you might have to put an extra amount of time in learning this thing and getting into the full swing of this. You have to do that whenever you go into any new area, whether it's schooling. You've got to go back to school and you're in a class, and you've got to put extra time and energy and effort into getting back into it. Once you get into the groove of it all over again, it doesn't take as much effort. So your life at various points will be pushed out of balance, but realize that it's got to come back in balance. If you ever see anybody get up like that and then they're still doing the same amount of hours as when they started, you start anything, I mean, you're going to have to be the receptionist, the bookkeeper, the janitor, the secretary. You're going to have to be the maintenance person. You have to do so much yourself whenever you're starting anything off. You don't have a whole lot of people to help you. You can't afford to bring a lot of folks in to help you, so you have to work extra hard. So your life during certain stages of development will take certain things out of balance, but that's only for a season. It's only for a season. And so I want to teach you with balance. I want to teach you that there's a balance between faith and then works. Some folks don't have it. They just have all of the faith, and then they don't want to do the works. And the Bible is real practical. If you don't work, you don't eat. And I just love some of the simplicity and plainness of You know, the book of James he's a real pragmatist, real pragmatist. And, you know, he says, you know, you show me, you say you have faith. He said, I'll show you my faith by my works. There is a balance in the kingdom of God. And everything that God does, there's a balance. There are contrasts of things that he does. God balances every single thing that he does. And we owe a debt of gratitude to the balance that comes into our life based on what God does for us. And so I just want you to know balance is the key to life. People will enjoy you so much more when you are not unilateral in just one dimension, but you're able to laugh and you're able to pray. Isn't it a beautiful thing when you can turn on a prayer and pray and storm the gates of hell with your prayer, and you can bombard it and command the things of God to come into this earth realm, and then you're able to sit around with friends and family and laugh and act silly like you don't have a care in the world, and then you know when you're at work and you know how to handle your business, and you're professional and you're time conscious, and you know how to, you're balanced. You know, you don't want to be all work and no play that makes Jack a very dull boy. You want to be balanced. Let your moderation be known unto all men, so that God brings us and that the world sees the balance. The people that are turned off from the people and the things of God is because they have seen an off-balance nature. And they get the impression that it's a bunch of restrictions. You can't do that, you can't do this, and these people don't have any fun. I believe it is a sin for the world to have more fun than the people of God. There's something that is stirred in your creativity. 6-year-old children laugh 300 times a day. Adults laugh 17 times a day. And they don't have high blood pressure, and ulcers. I think you need to lighten up sometimes and learn to laugh at some things that's going on that you can't control anyway. You get bills in the mail and it's like, you want your money when? God is a God of balance, and he has given us all things to enjoy. And we have the love of God that motivates us to want to do the right thing and to please God. And yet we have balance with that, the fear of the Lord. Did you know that the Bible says that by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged? You do not get rid of sin in a person's life just by having mercy on them. Have mercy on them, but tell them the truth. Because it is truth that sets the person free from the very thing that is destroying their life. It is truth. It is truth. And let me say this to you. So many of us have allowed the facts to become our truth. Facts are not truth. Facts change. Truth does not. Facts are the things that people look at in their relationship and say, you know, he's mistreating me. I know that's a fact, but is that truth? Don't dare make life decisions based on fact. Make them on truth. Because you'll do something out of the passion of your anger that was fueled by statistics and factual situations. Well, he did this, she did that. And you'll be bringing up the facts, and the facts will cause roots of bitterness to set up in your heart, where it is the truth of the living God that actually gives you the grace to say, you know what? You have had to be forgiven. I want you to forgive him and restore this relationship. I want you to forgive her, that I can heal this. If you will just let this go, I'll bring peace and it'll stop eating your soul, and you'll be able to rest and your health will improve. And when you stop living according to the facts of what he did and what she did, and you're keeping tabs because these are the facts. Yes, he hurt me. Yes, he did that. No, she didn't do this. Yes, she always accuses me. Yes, she always tears me down. And there is this war that is established, and their lives are destroyed by facts when God intends to let, he says, know the truth and let the truth make you free. It is truth that sets us free. They are not the facts. It may be a fact that this happened, but that is not the truth of who you are. And it is coming back to this mainstay of the truth that actually liberates us and sets us free. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so it is truth. For every truth that comes into our life, everything that binds us in our life, there is a corresponding truth that sets us free. And what we need to be looking for is to say, God, show me the truth to liberate me in my marriage. Not from my marriage, liberate me in my marriage. Show me, God, the truth that will liberate me so that I can walk in my healing, so that I walk in the manifestation of what you have already done from the beginning of time. Now let me walk in the manifestation of it. When you ask for the revelation of the truth, once you come into the knowledge of the truth, somebody can tell you some things that you accept as fact, and it may not even be a fact. But if you believe it as a fact of what somebody said because they read into a situation, what you've all heard may not all be true. And we are allowing ourselves to be governed by something. Get the balance of God's truth. It is by mercy and truth that iniquity is purged. And maybe there's something that God wants to wash out of us. And he does it by purging us with mercy, saying, you know what, I forgive you. But here's my truth, that you cannot continue to live this way, because this is not the way that you were made. That's the way you were raised, not the way you were made. And you're going by the fact of how you were raised instead of the truth of how you were made. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you can ever grab a hold of that revelation, something will explode on the inside of you, and your behavior will change in how you see yourself and how you interact with other people, to say, I am not a dope addict. I'm not a thief. I am not an alcoholic. Maybe that's what I've manifested in my past, but that is not who I am. And when you come into an understanding of the truth, you will realize that I am a child of God with worth and value, because I have been graced as a free gift, a cherished gift of God that has come into my life, not of my own works that I should boast, but it is what he has done on my behalf that liberates me and sets me free. I pray that you got something out of that, but we'll continue the next time.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Until next time, God bless you.